Welcome back to Ozarks Fox AM. Okay, I lied. I'm so sorry. I thought Sean Paul was here, but we left him somewhere else. Juliana is here. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Wow, we are going beyond the veil, past the cosmos, and maybe to the heavens. What's the one thing we're all going to experience, sure as gravity, at one point?
We're going to die.
Death.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, and it can be a scary prospect, right? It's because it's a solo journey, it's the unknown, but there is evidence to tell us what we might expect. This is going to be like a three-part series. We're going to talk to hospice nurses as well as eyewitnesses who have experienced what can only be described as sacred events.
You're going to make me cry.
Oh.
I know.
Maybe later.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to start with NDEs. You know what that is?
No.
Near-death experiences.
Oh, okay.
Okay, when people die and come back. Now, this is... Sometimes people will say they see a light. We're going to get back to that because one of the people that we're going to talk about today actually asked about the light. She was there, she saw it, she asked them what it was. We're going to come back.
Okay.
Glimpsing Heaven, wonderful book, comprehensive. I read this, I recommend it. It's written by Judy Bachrach, excuse me. She is a lifelong journalist who has worked for the Washington Post, the Washington Star, Vanity Fair. She is a professor of journalism.
Okay.
And she's very objective, obviously. And she was approached by National Geographic to research and write about this topic in her book. And she does this, and she's very cynical to begin with. She thinks, you know, the curtain drops and it's black, it's over.
Yeah.
Really?
But she shocks herself in her findings.
Wow.
She interviews and talks to a panel of 50 plus people who have experienced this, as well as a wide span of medical experts, cardiologists, neurologists, you name it. And well, let's just hear from her. This is what she says about all of these people she talked with, including neuropsychiatrists and nurses.
Okay,
we have
let's
a
take a
video
look.
to run.
Okay.
Ordinary doctors, and they all, including my GP, had patients who were declared dead, all of them, and came back to life, often thanks to CPR, and they said, this is what happened while I was dead. And by the way, doctor, I heard you say, don't bring her back to life, or don't even try, because she's dead. There's no use to this. And so they heard actual conversations in the ER while they were on a gurney, while people were trying to pump their hearts and bring them back to life. And that makes, according to the science we have today, that makes no sense to the science of today.
Right.
I call it death travels because a lot of people, not every single person who had experiences after death, a lot of people come back and say it was a journey and I'm back. And in many cases, they don't want to come back. That's a very important aspect to analyze and to discuss when we're talking about death experiences. Once again, this is not near death. It's not somebody who fainted or who's extremely sick and close to death and had an experience. These people were declared dead, and they had either real good memories of what went on while they were being operated on, or they had actual travels where they go to another, I can't say country, but to another place after death. So that's why I call it death travels and not near death, death.
One very remarkable experience, Pam Reynolds Lowry. In 1991, she had an aneurysm at the stem of her brain, which required surgery. They had to place her body in a state of physiological death. They lowered her temperature. They drained the blood away from her head, stopped the circulation. She had no brain activity, no heartbeat for 1 hour during this surgery. And then they, you know, started everything back up again. When she came to, she describes how she left her body through her head. She saw the surgery. She heard the conversations. She knew, she could describe the instruments. They were like a toothbrush, one of them, an electric toothbrush, the saw. She knew that the blades came in a case. At some point, and she heard music. She said that they were playing Hotel California, which she thought was not appropriate.
Oh, that's funny.
She leaves the operating room. She goes to the light. She sees her grandmother as well as an uncle. She asks about the light. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Not everybody sees a light, but many of them do. Many of them see creatures that are human-like. A couple of the ones Judy spoke with saw Jesus or a spiritual being. They see relatives. Judy says, not the boring ones, the interesting ones.
Right, right.
Many of them don't want to come back. There's another doctor, Dr. Bruce Grayson, who has spent 4 decades researching this. Over 1,000 patients he's cataloged. They describe time as being different. It stops. They can experience things simultaneously. An all-knowing, a sense of peace and harmony, ability to see the future, as well as a psychic connection to the environment. A lot of them come back. They're no longer afraid of death. They have new insight about what's important. Some of them have gifts, music, art, or psychic gifts. One doctor thinks it's possible that the DNA might change when they come back.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, again, the book is called Glimpsing Heaven, and these people all had different experiences, every single one of them, but they all came back changed in some way, and they all came back knowing that there's something different. Now, do you want to know what the light is?
Yes, please.
Yes.
In Pam's own words, we have another video.
Okay,
Let's take a look at this one.
I went toward the light. The closer I got to the light, I began to discern different figures, different people, and I distinctly heard my grandmother call me. She has a very distinct voice. And I immediately went to her. And it felt great. And I asked if God was the light. And the answer was no, God is not the light. The light is what happens when God breathes. And I distinctly remember thinking, I'm standing in the breath of God.
Isn't that beautiful? That was credit to BBC, who did a documentary on her. She's passed now, but
You know,
for good. But
I could talk to you about this for hours. And I have had this same feeling of intrigue for this. I've read books on the afterlife and people who have crossed over, who have been wrecks and pronounced dead and come back. And it is amazing.
yeah,
It truly is amazing.
There's something out there.
It's and with that, my great Aunt Mary passed away just a couple weeks ago, and she was sisters with my grandmother, who passed a long time ago in the 90s, and she was in hospice care. And as she was leaving, she said to my family, she saw my grandma Norma. She saw her mom and dad. I'm gonna cry now.
Yeah.
She saw them as she was going. She goes, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I see them. There's Norma. There's
Yeah.
Mama. There's Daddy. And she saw them as she left this world. It's amazing, because I really believe there is a heaven, and that's where she is. But she saw them clear as day, and she was telling us about it as she was leaving.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. We're going to hear more stories like that too, but I love that you shared that.
And those people that we know that are crossing over, a lot of times that is their story. I've heard it too. I saw my dad that passed a year earlier. And,
So, Julianne, this is a 3-part series, because I want to talk about this more.
I do too, yeah.
We could go on for
We're gonna
hours.
come back. We're going to talk to a hospice nurse, a few of them next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is amazing. I just had faith-affirming
Yeah.
segment right there. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
Yeah,
Isn't that just
that's
crazy
so
though?
awesome.
Like she could see it.
Yeah.
We can't see it.
No, but she could see it.
We're in the,